Megan wanted to go get her hair done, but in order to go get her hair done, she needed a ride. And her father couldn't or wouldn't take her because he was drunk. So she killed him. But let me tell you exactly what Megan did. Have you guys ever seen the movie Fight Club before? There's a scene in that movie that's extremely memorable to me. And it's where Brad Pitt takes Edward Norton's character's hand and very, very quickly he puts lye on his hand. And in this movie scene, the lye very quickly eats away at his skin. You can see it bubbling, you can see the chemical burn developing, and it's very, very quick. And not only that, but you can see how much pain he is in. Of course, it's a movie, but this is a very real thing that happens with that product. And Megan was so upset that she didn't get her way that she dumped lye on his body, and that lye ate away at his skin all over, causing slow, festering chemical burns all over his body while the man was passed out drunk and couldn't do anything to help himself. Eventually, he does get medical help hours later, but it took 5 months for them to try to treat him and for him to ultimately pass away. Megan, who throws chemicals on people that don't give her what she wants, is free. I don't even know if I should be talking about this. There's a video where she begs for mercy at her sentencing, and somehow, some way, it was given to her. I want to see what she says.
19 years ago, I was placed into the arms of the first man to ever love me. The man I'm lucky enough to call my dad. Growing up, he became so much more. He was a storyteller, a tooth fairy, a friend and hero. But through it all, the one thing that never changed was that he was mine. One of the biggest things overlooked in this case is that me and my siblings lost our dad too.
Babe, you did it!
My little brother was diagnosed with severe depression, and at his age, that will probably take over most of his life. He wasn't allowed to say goodbye to my dad. He's 15 and not only has to live with that scar, but at the same time has to watch his big sister wait to come home. My little sister is still traumatized from having her car surrounded and her sister taken away. And worst of all, until the police blurted out our dad was gone, we had no idea. She too was kept from saying goodbye and is also struggling as she watches me go through this.
I have some thoughts. We'll continue.
And then there's me. It's almost been 2 years and I haven't been able to mourn. I refuse to think he's gone because no part of me can handle losing him. Those first few days when I moved back in with my mom.
These people, to me, are some of the most dangerous people. People that say, I can't believe I did that. Those are some of the most dangerous people because whatever was in you that took that action and let the chemicals sit on the man, that's not gone just because you're crying now. I do believe that there is a sense of remorse here, but I do believe that there's like a split. Not saying that's like, this is like a clinical like personality disorder split. People that don't have disorders or anything like that, they split all the time. They split between the bad behavior that they don't want to recognize that they do and who they believe that they want to be. It happens all the time, and you don't have to have a diagnosis or anything for that. There's a disconnect. And the fact that she says, I haven't even been able to mourn for the past 2 years because I don't want to believe that he's gone. To me, that says, I don't want to believe that I did what I did. That's a big fucking red flag for me, my dude. That's like the top type of person that needs to sit in a jail cell and think about what they did.
Crying on the bathroom floor. And every night I slept with a picture of him and I. Has taken every belief of love, hope, and happiness and destroyed it. I am the best parts of him.
No!
But without him, I don't know who I am anymore.
Hey, don't you fucking kill me and then say that you're the best parts of me. What? I don't hate.
He was my reason, and now every day I battle with self-harm. My dad has always been the one constant in my life. That alone. And that created an unbreakable bond between us, and no one, not especially Mr. DeSantis, can take that away from me. I never got to say goodbye, and that's a scar I'll never be able to lose. I get so...
This is crazy. crazy. Who bought this? Who was eating this up? Who was eating this up, bro?
Scared that he thinks I didn't love him because I wasn't allowed to be there.
Yo, you didn't see this. I'm about to move my head and a hero is about to appear. I want you to watch this lady over here, this blonde lady on the right side. Watch her look around the courtroom and try to figure out who is buying this shit. And then watch her say, And
that's a scar I'll never be able to lose. I get so scared that he thinks I didn't love him because I wasn't allowed to be there and hold his hand.
Okay, Miss Jean Jacket. Okay. Thank you. I needed somebody to like validate this because I'm like, this is wild. Some people may not agree with me on this. I do believe that Megan feels a little bit of remorse and regret for what she did, but she needed to serve time to let the reality of the pain that she caused set in, man. This is exactly the type of person that's going to be a repeat offender. Exactly the type of person. Exactly. I feel like if a judge releases somebody that ends up being a repeat offender, especially for a violent crime, they need to get a little notification. They need to know who they let out into the world so at least they can look out for those traits later or something. Because this don't smell right to me.
Nobody even wants to talk about him. Like, we're just supposed to move on, but I can't. That's my dad, and he's gone, and no matter how much I beg God, he's not gone.
I need to... Guys, excuse me. Let me move my camera here from my co-host. let me move, girl. Let me let you in. Is this okay for me to be here? Cause look at her.
Nobody even wants to talk about him. Like, we're just supposed to move on, but I can't. That's my dad, and he's gone, and no matter how much I beg, he's not coming back.
Gotta play it back. I got it.
And he's gone, and no matter how much I beg God, he's not coming back.
That's Dad's sister or something. It really, I need to start paying attention to everybody's face. Is this the father's side of the family?
But the one thing he never taught me was how to live without him. I don't want to learn. I just want my dad. Austin let him give up. And it's not fair that Austin abused my dad both mentally and physically and still got to be the one at his side. Look what it did. He gave up. He would have fought for me and he never...
Did she just say that her brother abused her dad and it's not fair that her brother got to be by her dad's side? Girl, you killed him. You're the ultimate abuser. Murder classifies as like a step above abuse. Correct me if I'm wrong. Could be wrong here.
Really, look what it did. He gave up. He would have fought for me and he'd never leave me. Every single day, I'll pretend I'm in a coma for one of my suicide attempts. And that one day soon, God will wake me up and my dad will be there waiting for me. But there's no waking up, is there? It's wrong. That's the one thing that gets me by. A belief that's not even real. A hope that's supposed to defy reality.
Here, we're about to get to her version of events.
On October 1st, I woke up only to find my dad drunk. Yeah, it was disappointing, but I understood why he was. Those last few weeks were hard on us because Austin was moving out, and we weren't ready for that. Those last few weeks, I self-harmed, so who was I to be mad at my dad for his way of coping? Yeah, I whined.
What a really subtle way to victimize herself in this. This is very subtle, but there's a lot of me. Is anyone else picking up on there's a whole lot of me going on? Me.
Playing, but it was no different from any other time. He kept falling asleep in the middle of me complaining. And when I yelled Dad, he wouldn't wake up. So I tossed some bread at him because he pees in bags and puts them on the floor and it leaked that day, so I couldn't get to him to tap his leg.
You didn't have to say that. Like, you didn't have to say that. That was her trying to say, listen to how bad my dad was. Listen to how horrible he was. And that statement, that throwing the person that's dead under the bus, is saying, I understand why they were struggling, but listen to what I had to deal with. But I love them so much. No. When you love somebody, you speak positively of them through and through. She very, very well, I don't give a shit if that happened or not. She could have left that out of the statement, right? Are you trying to preserve who your father was and talk about how much you loved him and how close you were? Or are you trying to justify your actions?
When he didn't wake up, I tossed some lightweight things at the end of the couch.
Sorry, just want to say this. I don't know if she's about to say it in here, but I read it in the interview. She told the police that she threw bread at her dad. She didn't know how this happened. She said bread.
When he didn't wake up, I tossed some lightweight things at the end of the couch so it would vibrate and wake him. I never threw water, but I knew why the couch was wet, so it was easier to lie than to admit your dad makes himself. He did wake up though, and we talked it out. And although Mr. DeSantis would like to theorize on his consciousness, my dad and I both have said that we talked it out, and we don't leave angry. I would never and I would never hurt my dad.
That little line that she says about my dad and I, we don't leave conversations angry. We don't do that. That's like a line that comes from like a healthy home or like a healthy relationship that like you try to make happen in the home. When you're in an alcoholic home, anything goes. We don't have no home training. We don't have no skills. I think that's bullshit too. My dad and I had such a great relationship and we never like to leave the conversation angry. Well, how did you get so angry to the point that you dumped chemicals on him? Like, that's just like a lie. So when there's little things like that, how am I supposed to believe anything else that you're saying?
I would never and I would never hurt my dad. I am not my brother. And I like to point that out. That my party wasn't a big deal. I'd already celebrated, and if the hotel didn't work out, me and my friends would have still hung out. The only thing that excited me about turning 18 was that I was finally old enough to hold the puppies at the 12 Oaks Mall. You want to know?
I'm just gonna play it back. You take what you want from that.
The only thing that excited me about turning 18 was that I was finally old enough to hold the puppies at the 12 Oaks Mall. You want to know how I spent my birthday? My dad woke me up with cake and my favorite foods. You know why? Because he's a good dad. Yeah, he had his problems, but he was human. And just like humans, he felt pain and coped with it. He was going to get better one day. I believed in him. And now I don't even get to see that day. One major thing I'd like to point out is that my dad told the police and my brother I didn't do it. And only did that change after being alone with Austin, who admitted he told my dad that's not what happened. But how would he know? So when Austin didn't like the truth, he changed it. But he can't change my truth.
Wow,
not this time.
You fucking hate Austin, huh? Damn.
The evil are ensnared by the transgressions of their lips, but the righteous escape from trouble.
Oh, she a Christian now.
Proverbs 12:13. Although my attorney didn't provide an alternate theory while defending me, it's clear that in the discovery where there...
Judge Batty, I cannot believe you bought this. I also cannot believe that she's been holding the same facial expression for 7 minutes. Unbelievable, quite frankly. To me, there is no reason why Megan should not have served at least like 10 years. At least time to sit in the cell and think about what she did. She was facing a life sentence and she served 1 year.
There were other people who weren't being truthful and should have been questioned as well. And you'd think because one of my brother's hobbies is hurting my dad, he would have been questioned. But all it took was for my brother, who at this point changed the truth, to point the finger at me. In the police video, if you pay close attention, you will find that I only agreed to the things they said first. Just like my brother, I'd do anything to protect my dad and the possibility of self-harm, even lie. And I apologize for those lies. If I knew that simple lie would ruin my life, I would have closed my mouth. We all learn at some point. I wish more than anything I would have testified at trial, but I can't go back, and I can only fight my butt off right now. This whole time the prosecution has tried to make me look like a monster, but that's not me and it never was. The real me is a girl who laughs a little too loudly.
Do we need to watch the opening statements? I know the prosecution did their job, Lord willing. Opening statement? And the brother testifies?
Right there in the front.
We're gonna watch some of this trial after this. We're gonna watch a couple more minutes of this and then I'm going to the trial.
The real me is the girl who laughs a little too loudly and loves a little too hard. And the kind of girl who sees the best in everyone. I babysit kids for moms that can't afford much and volunteer at Vacation Bible School. I was on the soccer team and performed in the choir and musicals. And my favorite thing is when my dad would wake me up in the crack of dawn to show me the deer in our yard. I'm a good student and sister, but most importantly, I'm a good daughter. I was the only one who took care of my dad. Even though it was hard, it made me feel loved and needed. My dad was proud of the girl I was becoming, and even now I know he's looking down from heaven, proud that I've been strong enough to get here. He's strong enough to still fight. I didn't just lose my dad, but I lost my big brother. And this whole time I've tried to hate him for what he...
Dude, you've been talking shit about your brother this whole time. Oh my God, I have to see his testimony.
He did, but I can only forgive him. And I hope he knows that I'll always love him, no matter what. One of my biggest fears moving forward is that when people will think that I'm some monster, something I'm far from. Mr. DeSantis so badly wants to take away my future without a care that for the past 17 months. I sat and faced some of the hardest punishments. My great uncle died, and again I didn't get to say goodbye. My brother needs me, and
you got 1 year in prison for murder and you just gonna have the audacity to say you faced some of the hardest battles because you didn't get to say goodbye to your uncle? Help! Help! I can't do this!
Greatest of all, I have to live in a world where my dad is not. I have to live with the fact that I didn't even get to say goodbye or I love you. That alone.
I am in so much pain. Is the nurse, I mean the judge, is the nurse, please help us. This is another video from Law and Crime. She's a baby.
5519.
She's a baby with a temper, bro. Whose victim impact statement is this that she's sitting over here? No, it's not real.
Demeanor continued with his kids and everyone who encountered him. He was a scout leader and continued to offer help and mentorships to every kid that needed it. Even during tough times, he never lost his generosity. Throughout her life, Megan Imirowicz had numerous behavioral issues and got into multiple troubles.
Ooh.
My brother was always there and never gave up. When Megan and her mother, Julie Conrad, had his issues, he was there to welcome her with open arms. He even fought for her custody to remedy issues. When Megan stole his car and crashed it, my brother was there to support her. He did not...
Miss, I just want to pet the puppies? Stole the car and crashed it? Miss, I just want to pet the puppies? Is having fights with mom? Let me let it play.
When Megan stole his car and crashed it, my brother was there to support her. He did not tell us exactly what happened. It was unusual for him not to visit my parents, and we had no idea that he did not have a car because he protected Megan from any negative comment and encounter.
Wow.
After some time, we got to learn about it from others. He would take my parents' car to continue driving her around. When Megan pulled a knife in school and threatened to...
She knows how... Oh, when Megan pulled the knife in school, you fucking piece of shit. You know exactly how to escape accountability. She knows exactly how to do it. This is a completely different picture of a person painted by another family member. This is... How did the judge... Oh! Heal me, Jesus!
When Megan pulled a knife in school and threatened a teacher, he was there to pick her up and enroll her in homeschool. He always had an open arm for her, always wanted her to be happy, and continuously tried to work around her behavioral issues. As always, with his calm nature, he never lost his temper and unconditionally loved her. Then, on the morning of October 1, 2021, Megan poured lye powder on her dad, Conrad Imirowicz, and left him to die because he could not drive her to the appointment. Megan left my brother with horrendous suffering, dreadful pain, and in horrific condition.
That is the bodily response she has when presented with her own actions. This person should be in jail. I can't, honestly, what a
Feels like a failure to society by the judge.
Until now, I have not let my wife and mother see those pictures. Every time I'm reminded of a great memory with my brother, I also remember the dreadful pictures. I cannot think or remember my brother without horrible recollection of how he died. All that got worse when we found out Megan had proceeded to go to a hotel for her birthday party and had the audacity to ask for Conrad's credit card info to pay for her party. At times, I think this senseless act was the only reason that Conrad was found alive and taken to the hospital. I am grateful that he got treatments and strong drugs at the end so that he did not die until...
She left her father covered in lye in the house, went off for her birthday party, and left him to die.
He died at home, as was his wish, with my nephew Austin by his side. Austin has had to do through the horror of seeing his father suffering from his injuries and dying in front of him, all with the knowledge that his sister Megan did this to their father. The suffering to my parents, myself, my nephew, and family is unspeakable. My parents not only lost a child, but they also need to deal with the trauma of knowing that their grandchild took the life of their son in a way unimaginable, with no remorse. Knowing that she never took responsibility for her act and always blamed others for her horrific act. Megan took away a father, a son, a brother, and an uncle without remorse and in a cruel way. She gave us all a life sentence of dealing with our lost. Megan deserves a life sentence. Respectfully yours, Thomas Imirowicz, brother of Conrad Imirowicz, on behalf of the Imirowicz family.
Anything further?
I can't believe that she just listened to that incredibly powerful letter and just anything else? Anyone got anything else? So it sounds like the judge has already made up her mind.
The circumstances that you have endured during your adolescent life are somewhat detailed in the PSR. The report indicates physical abuse and attempted sexual assault by a friend of a sibling, which was not addressed by your parents. Your adoptive parents separated when you were 8.5 years old. You endured both physical abuse, and while you indicate that you were raised by both of your parents, the court does recognize that your father was a severe alcoholic.
I'm shocked by this. I'm really disappointed and really bummed too. Like a sheet of somebody's trauma doesn't justify what happened here and what was happening over all this time.
Disease could not make him a fit parent, and he always put you in harm's way. Your childhood was lined with abuse, the inability to grow mentally as a child. Your only criminal history was driving offense that your father was unable to drive you. The PSI indicates that he would pick you up while intoxicated and that you had to quit your job to care for your father. Your father described you as an angel, making it clear that you do not have malice. It is clear that your father's addiction and the denial of his...
How are we blaming the guy that died? Oh my God, I cannot believe they let her out. This is insane. Chat, we absolutely must. We must go to the opening statements from the prosecution. We must go into them.
Right now, we want to take you into court to listen to the opening statements from today.
Criminal cases are always about choices and consequences. Okay. A person will make a choice to do something, and the consequences ensue.
Amen.
In our society, we hold people accountable for the choices and the consequences of their choices, and that is why we are here today. Because on October...
Point blank period. Done. I don't care about the rap sheet of trauma and how bad her life story is. Raise your hand if you have a bad life story. Now keep that hand up if you didn't kill anybody. He's so right. Bad actions should have consequences. This ideal, right? They go hand in hand.
Megan Imirowicz made a choice to act, and the action led to the death of her father, Conrad Imirowicz. Megan turned 18 on September 29th of 2021. She was supposed to have a birthday party on the night of October 1st, 2021. She'd also made a hair appointment that day, so she was going to go and get her hair done and then go to this birthday party. So she woke up at home on October 1st at the home she shares with her father, Conrad, and that was in Ortonville, Michigan, here in Oakland County. Now, Megan does not drive, so she needed Conrad to take her to the hair appointments. So she goes to get him, and she finds what I think you're going to hear is a familiar sight, which is that Conrad, even at 10 o'clock in the morning or so, was drunk. And he was actually so drunk he was effectively passed out. And this made her enraged. I think this was probably the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of the drinking, because it was a common occurrence. It was supposed to be her birthday party. That's supposed to be a good day, 18th birthday party with your friends. And now he was being drunk again and endangering it, and she absolutely blew her lid. So they started arguing, she wakes him up. They're talking, he's still extremely drunk. You're gonna find out that even later, when people first got there, he was still kind of out of it. And that he was still very drunk even then. And she starts throwing things at him. just everything that's lying around. And you're going to see in the photos, there was a lot of stuff lying around. But one of the things that you're going to find out that she admitted to throwing at him was water. And another thing that she's going to admit to throwing at him, as you're going to see on a police interview video, is a white powder, a cleaning agent, that she's going to say got in and around his legs. The product, of course, was lye. And I think you're going to find that the statement that there was a little bit of white powder was probably an understatement that she made to protect herself, because it was not just a little bit of white powder. Lye, of course, is a common product. It's an alkali. We use it in tons of things, soap, fertilizer, but it's also a household cleaner. It's available at pretty much any store. You can buy it at Ace Hardware, and it's used very commonly for dry cleaning.
Lye is a chemical. It's like a powder substance that eats through the skin. It causes chemical burns very, very quickly. Your skin is festering. It's bubbly. It just burns right through until it can't anymore.
Enough so that, as you're likely going to see, the bottle of lye in this particular case that was found at the scene has a big red skull and crossbones on the front.
Oh my
dangerous
God.
burns. And other warnings right there on the front. It's useful stuff, but it is very dangerous. It's the sort of thing that you get out as the chemical big gun when the regular stuff that you use at home doesn't work. So she puts this on him, and it gets everywhere, and it's all over his skin because, unfortunately, Conrad was asleep on the couch, and he was effectively naked at the time. So all of this got in direct contact with his skin. Now, Megan has a friend come and pick her up, and she leaves to go to her hair appointment. Conrad is still passed out. So this stuff is just sitting on him, eating away at his flesh for a very long time.
I just want to say this for anybody that kind of finds a little empathy for her because they feel like they've been in that situation. It is really disappointing when your parent is an alcoholic or has any type of addiction. Like kids that grew up in a home where your parent was addicted to drugs, God fucking bless, you made it, okay? To wake up as a girl on your 18th birthday and feel like, this is my special day. Why are you not here for me? Please pick me. Please, God, pick me one time for once. And I mean, kids don't always understand addiction, right? They don't get it. Why is mom passed out again? Why is mom freaking out again? Why am I not being picked? That is totally a valid thing. But one thing that sets Megan apart is this sense of entitlement and this weird brattiness that happens afterwards, which I'm sure the prosecutor is going to explain. Not only did she dump a deathly substance on her father, a man that she claimed to love, she left him there, which is it's unbelievable. It's psycho-fucking-pathic. And then she went off to go party with her friends and then felt entitled to take his credit card. This goes so far beyond dad's drinking again. It goes so much further than that.
It's a couple hours later when Megan calls a friend named Kayla from down the street to go and check on her dad. Because Megan's out, she's trying to use the credit card, it's not working, and so she needs the number. So she
only called because she took her dad's credit card and it's not working. See, there is something wrong with Megan. This goes so much deeper than dad's drunk again.
Calls Kayla, says, hey, can you go check on my dad and get the credit card? So Kayla goes in, walks in the house, it's unlocked. She walks up the stairs, turns to the left, and there's the couch where Conrad still is, and there he is. He's covered in what we're going to find out are burns, chemical burns, that cover approximately 41% of his body. Wow. They are black, they are thick, they are deep. They are not going to be pleasant to look at. She calls Megan, of course, and talks to her. Megan kind of is just dismissive, doesn't really acknowledge what's going on. Kayla also calls her mom. She also calls Austin Imirowicz, who is Conrad's oldest son and Megan's older brother. Austin tells her to call 911. Of course, they show up. He's immediately taken by EMS to the hospital, to Ascension Genesis. And then it's there that Conrad says to Austin and another friend who was with him, Lucas Kobe, in hearing of a nurse, who overhears this, that Megan threw some powder on. This nurse, now believing that this might be an assault, calls 911 to report it as an assault.
Thank you. Thank you to the nurse. Oh my God, bro.
And the Michigan State Police get involved and start investigating. They eventually go locate where she is, which is at a hotel, when they finally get to talk to her.
She's
She's outside
partying.
with some friends in a car. They go up to the vehicle. They ask if they can talk to her. She steps out, and she gives the interview that I've kind of already mentioned, where she effectively admits that she threw these things at her father. Conrad was in very bad shape, even then. On that same day, he's transferred to the burn unit at Hurley Medical Center in Flint. So he's there from October 1st until March 3rd, 2022.
I want to remind you guys, because obviously we're not going to look at those fucking photos. I personally don't want to see the photos of Conrad, but I want to point out that in this trial, it's actually very important for the prosecutor to show these to the jury and the judge. The judge saw those photos. Those photos were a man. I believe Conrad was 64 years old. He was an older man. A man that 40% of his skin is covered in black burns, holes, crevices in his body where a powder has eaten away at his flesh all the way through the tissue, probably through the muscle, as far as it could possibly go until those wounds turned black. Those chemicals festered on his body while his daughter was out partying because she felt like she deserved to. It's very troubling to me that the judge saw the severity of those photos and the burns that Conrad lived with for 5 months and let this girl out. You can only imagine what they look like. You can only imagine. And he has to show those to the jury. He has to show them to the judge. And they still let her go.
There's 153 days that they are trying to save his life. In that time, he has repeated infections from the wounds. He goes on dialysis because his kidneys are shot.
Yep.
He has both of his legs amputated. He has tracheotomy and lots of other things go on while he's there. At the end of the 153 days, he goes home on hospice because he's decided to take himself off life support. He dies 3 days later at home on March 6, 2022. As I said, Megan Imirowicz made a choice, and the consequence led to the death of her father. We have charged the people,
I can't get over how it just feels like, I'm like, is she mewing or has she just like already made up her mind? All through the trial, I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Because y'all know I've been talking about the Amy Bishop case for years, and this just feels...
Megan Imirowicz, with one count of committing an unlawful act with a chemical irritant for an unlawful purpose causing death. This requires us to prove. These are the elements of the offense. So the elements of the offense are the things I have to prove. They're the only things I have to prove. Now, you probably heard of words like motive. I don't have to prove motive. I think we will, but I don't think I have to. What I do have to prove is that on or about October 1st, 2021, in Oakland County, Michigan, that the defendant placed, used, or released a substance. That substance then was that she possessed, placed, used, or released was a chemical irritant. The law defines that as a solid, liquid, or gas that through its chemical or physical properties, alone or in combination with one or more other substances, can be used to produce an irritant effect in humans, animals, or plants. Third, that the defendant possessed, placed, used, or released the chemical irritant to frighten, terrorize, intimidate, threaten, harass, injure, assault, batter, or kill Conrad Imirowicz. Fourth, the possession, place, and use or release of the chemical irritant resulted in the death of Conrad Imirowicz. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your patience and your patience and consideration to come. I believe when the proofs in this case are complete, you're going to be able to kind of answer the question that I had told you in jury selection a case is about. What happened, and did what happened break the law?
What happened, and did it break the law? You decide. You tell me if anybody broke the law here today. Because I personally feel like somebody did. And I feel like they may or may not have broken the law in one of the worst ways that you can possibly do it. Murder. Killing somebody. Taking the life of another.
Determine the truth of what happened on October 1st, on what happened to Conrad Imirowicz, why he died, how he died, and who was responsible for it. I think the evidence is going to show that Megan Imirowicz made that choice.
Yep.
And it killed her father. So at the end of this trial, I ask you for a verdict that holds her responsible for her choices, and that will be a verdict of guilty as charged. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. I don't know why I'm in an amen. Wait, what do you say that's not religious when you agree? Yes, Lord. No, don't help me, chat. Hold on. Agree. Hell yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, I like that. Period. I concur. Absolute. Yeah. Oh, I got one. That's right. Wait, I want to see what this lady has to say.
Fairly short opening by the state. Let me know what you think at Ashley Court TV. Up next, we're going to have the defense's opening statement.
Ashley.
Stay tuned.
Everybody know that you still haven't heard any evidence.
Dude, what? That's the defense's opening statement. I want everyone to know that you still haven't heard any evidence. She said she did it. I love getting gaslit by defense attorneys.
It's early in this case. Now, what happened on that day was tragic, no question. But there's some more facts you need to know. His son, when he went to the hospital, talked to him. When he went to the hospital, his statements were, I don't remember what happened. Mr. Imirowicz said that. When the young lady who was checking on him comes in, she walks in and says hello, and he responds. He didn't feel anything at that point in time. This is several hours later.
I want to remind you that you and I, we're not going to see the photos, okay, of what his body looked like before he got into the burn unit. But you can imagine, right? I'm so sorry, but I need you to imagine that for a moment, to understand the severity of Conrad's wounds and how that doesn't match up to this like story of, oh, the nurse walked in and, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I don't remember what happened. You know, when he paints the story in this just kind of like everything was normal kind of way, you picture a man in a hospital bed talking to a nurse. But when you think about the images that the prosecution had to show in court later of his body, you think about a man with 40% of his body burned off with black wounds all over him. And that doesn't match up to the fucking conversation that this defense attorney is trying to paint. They had to amputate both of his legs.
His blood alcohol level was very high. And his son said, look, what he told me, him and Megan had a fight. Okay. They had a fight, they had an argument. She admitted she threw some bread at him and a couple other things. But that doesn't mean that she threw this stuff at him. Okay? Now, if you look at his blood alcohol level when he goes into the hospital, it's extremely high.
So that means
And
that he...
several hours earlier, frankly, he would have been dead if he had that blood alcohol level and hadn't been drinking. But he admitted to the son that after the argument, he was drinking again. Now, this stuff is all over his body. He went to take a nap. It was all over his body. The only one hands who have any damage are his. He's been rubbing this in. He's been sitting there, but he didn't feel anything.
I want to propose just a little something here. This is a personal anecdote, but for somebody that might be wondering, how could his body be burning off and he's not getting up, he's not doing anything? Throwing out a personal anecdote here. I'm somebody that when I'm in pain, and it's so weird, whether it's mental or physical pain, like for example, if I'm super fucking hungover and I have a terrible headache, I don't move. I freeze up. I literally, my personal response to pain, and I don't know if anyone else relates to this, is I basically like freeze until the pain goes away. And a lot of times, you know, it doesn't always go away. And so some people, I know somebody else relates to this. Even if something like that is happening, you just almost don't do anything. Sometimes it's very possible. And this was a slow burn. At the end of the day, the effects of this burn killed him. It was serious. It was a slow death over 5 months that resulted in his kidneys failing, him having to have a tracheotomy, both of his legs were amputated, and ultimately he died. So if you're wondering why he didn't do anything, well, he was drunk and maybe he just froze out of the pain, not understanding it. He probably was so drunk that he didn't know what was all over him. There could be a complete other reason why, but I want to lob that theory your way just in case you're having trouble connecting that piece.
Throughout all the medical records, and I think we're going to admit the medical records, there's total probably 20,000 pages. Never once does he say, I remember what happened. Never once does he say Megan did it. Never once does he say
Oh, that's a good point too. Chloe said at a certain point, I don't even think that he felt anything. Yeah, wait, and I have another question too, because I actually don't know this, and I know somebody in chat's gonna know. Don't you have to remove lie with like something in particular? Like, don't you have to, certain chemicals actually activate lie and make it worse? Don't you have to do something specific? If you put water on it, will it go away, or does it so water makes it worse? That's another thing too. If he was so drunk that he didn't know what was on him, because the last thing I would assume is my daughter dumped lie on me. There also is a world where maybe he tried to get it off with water and it just got worse and he didn't know what to do, thus once again just freezing. So I don't know exactly why it happened that way, but for me personally it kind of makes sense. And I know some people might be like, how is this possible? Just trying to connect the dots a little bit.
Never once does he say or blame anyone for this. Now, he went through a horrific experience, but he was also an extreme alcoholic. So.
He died, but he was an alcoholic. Oh, f*** me.
This is a bad situation. You're going to have to look at all the facts, all the situation, listen to all the testimony, and make up your mind. Now, it's early. You haven't heard anything. Please listen to everything and make up your mind.
Shut up. I don't know if her brother Austin ultimately defends defending Megan, which he very well might, because in the hospital he didn't say what she did. His father told him that Megan did it, but he's not the one that called the police. The nurse is the one that called 911. So I'm not sure if Austin is going to defend her or not, but I am very curious. What is his demeanor and why does Megan hate him so much?
Mr. Imirowicz, do you know a Conrad Imirowicz?
Oh, I do. That was my father, yes, sir.
That was your father. And your father is deceased now, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you know a Megan Imirowicz?
I do. That would be my sister.
Okay. Do you see her in court today?
Yep, she's to the right, yes, sir.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
She's to the right, yes, sir. My bad.
To your right?
Yeah, to your right, or my right.
This is my left.
Your left, sorry.
It's okay. You're a little nervous.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Just so you guys know, as you saw in the opening statements, this is the prosecution that's asking Austin questions right now.
Where were you living around October 1st, 2021?
I was living, around October, I was living out in Pontiac off of Stanley.
Okay, so you weren't living with your father at that time?
In October, no.
Okay.
He had
Who
moved
was
out.
living with your father?
In October, it was still my father and Megan.
Okay.
I was still visiting, though.
Okay. You still had a room at the house?
I'd given my room to him, but I was more so like visiting for the day, and then he was taking me home or to work. But yeah.
All right. Where was Megan's room in the house?
Megan's room in the house was, so if you walked up the stairs and you went right, it'd be right across the hall. So it was on the second floor to the right.
All right. So like when you walk in your house, it's a split level, right?
Yes.
So you walk in the landing. There's the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. You go up the stairs. To the left is the living room with the couch.
Yep.
And to the right down the hallway is Megan's room.
Yep. Megan's room, and then to the left was the bathroom, and to the right was my room.
Okay. I want to take you to October 1st, 2021. You came to be aware that something happened that day, right?
This went to trial really fast. This happened in 2021, and the trial concluded like less than a year ago.
Did you get a phone call from Kayla?
Yes. No. Yes. Sorry. I did get a phone call from Kayla that day.
Okay. And that's Kayla Bosquet.
Yes, sir.
And what was your relationship with Kayla at the time?
As a neighbor. She was a friend and a neighbor.
Okay.
So Kayla is the friend that Megan called to go check on her dad. Okay, Megan didn't call Kayla to check on her dad. She called Kayla to go get her dad's PIN number so that she could use the card.
So she called you. How did she sound on the phone?
She sounded kind of confused and concerned. She had told me how that she had thought my dad had an accident or something. I had asked her, like, what do you mean? Like, you know, what's he look like? She had mentioned how he was kind of covered in, like, black something, or not sure if it was, like, not sure how it was described, but, like, he didn't look well.
Okay.
And then I had told her to call the ambulance and that I was on my way.
All right. Now, she was upset on the phone, you said?
Like, concerned. She seemed just more concerned, yes, sir.
Okay. What were you thinking when she was describing to you what she was seeing?
I thought that maybe he had just had an injury, or maybe he had fallen or something like that. I wasn't expecting to see what I had seen when I got there. If that's
Okay.
what you're asking.
And
Wait, also. Oh my God, dude. Holy shit. It's not his. Okay, wait. Austin's talking real slow. I either got a 1.5 this. Okay, hold on. Guys, they show what the container looks like that Megan emptied on her dad. She emptied this whole thing out on her dad. And they're right. It has the skull and crossbones on it. It says, gets the clog out. It was chemical. She picked it up and threw it all over him. Oh my God. And this is a huge container. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead to when he asks him about these photos.
When you were talking to your dad there, how did he seem?
Scared. If I'm going to be honest, scared.
Were you scared?
Yeah. No, I'm not going to lie, yeah.
That directly contrasts the defense's picture of things. He was drunk and he was talking to the nurse. He and his son were scared. They knew how bad the injuries were.
You also talked to Megan that night, right?
Yep.
Okay, and that was encapsulated in your statement. Is that a yes?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So while you're at the hospital, you talked to Megan on the phone?
Yep.
Do you recall who called whom?
She had called me.
Okay, she called you.
Yes, sir.
What did she say to you when she called you?
She had called me and it had gone that she was asking about if I knew Dad's PIN or whatever. I told her no, why, because he's at the hospital. And that's when she was like, oh, and then just hung up and that was it. Okay. That was the end of that.
She was annoyed he was at the hospital? That's insane.
How did you feel about that?
I was angry.
Why?
To show no care at all, but I mean, to dismiss something serious when...
All right. Now, while you were at the hospital, other people showed up, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Julie Conrad was one of those people?
Yes, sir.
And who was Julie Conrad?
My mother.
Okay. Was she and your father
Damn, the family got problems. He was like, it's my mom.
together at that time?
No.
Okay, they were divorced?
Yeah, it happened for a very long time.
Okay. At some point you went back to the house, is that right?
I went back to the house later after getting approved with a group of roommates to get the cats, yes, sir.
Okay. And you were inside the house briefly, you said, when Conrad was still being taken out?
Yes, I had gone in just for a second before following the ambulance, yes, sir.
Okay. In those times, what did you observe about the area where your father was?
There was some sort of white, whatever it was. I'm assuming it's safe to say it's probably a chemical. But there was just like a ton of it. It was white stuff all over the couch. And then next to the end of the couch, there was like, I think cleaning supplies or whatever. And then just a bunch of other junk.
Puppy, I'm sorry if y'all don't agree, but something about him, I don't trust him. He's not on trial. And so far, all he said is that his dad was in the hospital. He was scared. Megan called for the PIN. And there was white stuff everywhere. I don't know. I was reading a comment in chat. I don't know why you don't trust him. Strong gut feeling you got there. And also, you're right. We don't have to be on the same page about something. But I'm so curious. I'm like, what is the gut reading? Crutch said, do you think he did it? I'm like, yeah. I'm so curious. Sometimes I see like TikTok comments like this. And I'm like, they're here. Explain. I need to understand. I'm not saying I trust her. I just don't think I trust him. Okay. Not the burns, but you should show the audio of the father being interrogated at the hospital. I am curious because I feel like that so desperately refutes the defense's statement, but that also sounds like it would be very terrible to listen to. That's something I would have to screen before we did, but I gotta look into that because yeah, I'm not done with this case, but that sounds like something I would probably want to screen a little bit before we did it on the live stream. But it does sound super important. Yeah, like there's some stuff that it depends on the content of what's in it. Like I don't want to like hear him saying, I don't know, but there's some stuff that I'm like, let's leave that for the jury.
Do you recognize what's shown in those photographs?
I don't recognize it, no, sir, but I know that that is what was on the couch that I saw.
Okay, so you don't recognize, you don't know what the bottle itself is.
No, sir.
Okay, but are those photographs of your couch at the home?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do those photos fairly and accurately depict what you saw when you were examining the scene that day?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Judge, I'd move to admit People's Proposed Exhibits 4 through 8.
No objection.
So admitted. I see a couple things in chat where somebody's saying if I'm really emotional, I get monotone or unexpressive, or someone said if I'm traumatized or angry, my face looks really unfazed. You have to protect yourself. So that makes me feel like I might have missed it in chat, but if somebody like I don't know if it was Puppy or if it was somebody else that said like they don't trust him because of his presentation. Part of the reason I think, this is just my opinion, that Austin might come off this way is like if you come from a family where really, really bad traumatizing shit is normalized and your parents bottle up everything. They bottle up every fight. They bottle up all of their resentment. They bottle up violence. They bottle up anger and everything. Then you as a kid also bottle up all of those things too. You'll go extremely numb in situations like this. I also find it's very common because I do this a bit too. And since I noticed it in myself, I've noticed it in other people. And I don't know if this applies to this, but I'll share it just because at the top of my head right now. Sometimes people that numb out in really, really traumatizing situations, they will tend to dramatize really, really small things in their life and then go numb on the really, really bad things. I think that's really interesting. I don't know exactly why that mechanism happens, but yeah, some people numb out on really, really like traumatizing stuff, and it's just their reaction. Also, if you're somebody that does that, if you feel like you're in a period where you're starting to like really dramatize like really, really small things, take a second to find out what bigger thing in your life might be upsetting you and take some energy from that small thing and put it into the big thing, because you should. That's where the energy should be, so that you can acknowledge something bad is happening, or I'm stressed about something and I want to work through this, and I also want to acknowledge that what is happening to me is bad rather than bottling it up. Okay?
Sorry. Back to the trial. Sometimes I just be saying little things.
Austin, tell us what we're looking at here.
It's a couch, the blanket, and that's the white stuff that I had saw from the bottle, and then above that's the window seal.
Okay. Now I'm gonna highlight something with my cursor here. Is this the bottle itself that you were talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell me about the couch here? This is a brown couch, but there's some discoloration here, isn't there?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
That I do not know. I had assumed that maybe it was from the white bottle, but that I don't know, and to this day I still don't.
Okay. Was the couch wet?
Not that I know of, no, sir.
I'm going to say this. I think it's a little odd that the prosecutor is asking him these questions because he wasn't there. Why would he do that? Am I tripping? Like, he should be asking an investigator or something like that on the scene. Like,
all right, moving on to the next one. This is just People's Exhibit 5. Now, the bottle's in a different location here, but is this what you saw that day?
Yes, sir.
Is that some of the white powder you were talking about?
oh, maybe
Yes.
he was
Okay.
there?
Did you ever touch any of that stuff?
No.
Okay.
I left it in the same position it was the whole time.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I guess he was there.
So I believe it was finally later moved by what I'm assuming would be authorities.
Okay. In fact, you went with authorities to open the house for that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is another picture of that bottle. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and more of the white stuff on the couch.
Yep, that's still the couch too. Yes, sir.
All right. And is that the bottle you saw?
Yeah, that's the bottle I saw. I'd never seen the front of it like that, but yes, sir.
Okay.
That bottle is so scary to me. That's really scary. This looks dangerous. In nature, high contrast patterns, bold colors, things like that. Like, do any of you guys have trypophobia? Trypophobia is kind of like that fear of holes or high contrast patterns. A lot of times that comes from our brains being overactive, because in nature, those high contrast patterns mean danger. They mean bad. Like this thing is bad. That's where it's coming from. It's like almost like a very, very primitive thing, right? And when I look at this bottle, I don't have that same like feeling with trypophobia, but these high contrast colors to me symbolize that this is a dangerous product. It just looks, this bottle creeps me out a little bit. It really creeps me out.
Had you ever seen this stuff before in the house?
No, sir.
Okay. You were over there pretty often, right? And you used to live there.
No, yeah, I lived there my whole life, actually. I knew about almost everything that we had, whether it was in the cabinet, bathroom, etc.
Okay. But you had never seen this before?
No. No,
All
sir.
right. And is this that same blanket?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, it has a red pattern on it, but can you tell me what this looks like to you here that I'm circling?
From here to me, other than the red pattern, it looks white. Some of that stuff.
Okay. And This here as well?
Yes, sir. Same with there. It just looks like it's a ball form or whatever.
Okay.
Now, we've pretty much already seen the end of the trial, right? Megan claiming that she loves puppies and laughing with her dad. Oh, God, that makes me sick. I'm just very curious of the family. So I wanted to see her brother's testimony, but also I would like to see the mother's testimony. Okay, once again, I think that Megan's mom is going to defend her a little bit. But I just want to see what her demeanor is. That's what I'm curious about.
After you looked for the chemicals and you found the phone, what, if anything, did you do?
Well, we took the pictures. We did see a powder, like on the back of the couch, like where your head would rest. We did see powder there.
I feel like she's already downplaying it. We just saw the pictures. We just saw that. And this little description of, I think there was some type of powder. Bitch, that was lie.
So I took a picture of that. And again, that was one that I had texted to Trooper Smith. And we just, any type of chemical product we took a picture of. And then after that, we went ahead and left.
Where'd you go next?
Back out to Grange Hall and up to the emergency room at Genesis.
What happened when you got to Genesis?
I saw Kayla, who I recognized. And so I walked right up to her, and she goes, okay, well, let us call Lucas out so you can go in. And so we kind of did a switch there, and I went in and was in the room with Conrad and Austin, and medical people were coming in and out.
Did you have a chance to talk to Conrad?
Yes.
What, if anything, did he tell you?
He's like, hi! And he was very animated. And knowing Conrad, so I knew what condition he was in. But he's like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm fine.
I don't believe this. I don't believe it. I'm going to tell you 2 reasons why I don't believe it. One, the reason that you and I both already know, is that he's been chemically burned on over 41% of his body. And 2, are you ready for the other reason why I don't believe it? Because he's an alcoholic and he's probably detoxing. If you're that bad, alcohol detoxes are one of the worst things that you can go through. Now, unless his son snuck in a couple of airplane bottles, which, Slim, could have happened. But Slim, the man was not only burnt up, but he was also detoxing off of that alcohol. His body needs it more. This is not a time that he's gonna, hi, da-da-da-da. He needs shots and shots and shots and shots of liquor to be functional. This is a man that is drinking at 10 a.m. and is already usually passed out. His body is so dependent on it. I do not believe that was his demeanor. You can take, I think people can take diazepam that probably helps with hangovers and withdrawal symptoms, but it doesn't switch you straight into hi. Otherwise, it would be a lot easier for people to quit alcohol.
Well, he's like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm fine. How are you? And I was like, does anything hurt? And he's like, no. I'm like, well, what happened?
What? I don't trust her.
I'm just here. They're giving me meds and stuff, and everyone's coming to see me. And he was like having a jolly old time.
Okay. Did he ever at any point...
Oh my God, I don't believe her so bad I just burped. Do you guys believe her? I simply do not.
In that day, tell you anybody did anything?
No. He just kept repeating, I don't know. And he actually showed me many of his burns. And I was feeding him ice chips.
She's a fucking liar, dude.
Yes. The hospital staff was rounding everything up and getting everything ready so he could be put onto the ambulance for transport to Hurley.
Did you ever talk to him after he left the hospital?
No.
Did you ever try and visit him?
No. On the next day, I had set up a text chat. No, real text, not Snapchat.
I don't even know. I don't even know if I want to know. I don't want to listen to her anymore. I don't. I can't. I simply can't do it. This is hurting me. It's so funny that I look for these type of people because I want to see what's going on. And then when I see it, I get physically sick.